Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Tuesday means it's Type 2 or Standard Tuesday, and this week we have a super spicy aggro list to look at. This is Hollow One aggro, looking to discard a bunch of cards and take advantage of the fact that we can discard a bunch of cards. It comes to us from Isra Fanatic, who took it to a top 64 finish at a recent SCG Standard Open, so congrats to Isra on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break down Hollow One aggro for Standard. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Hollow One aggro is built around Hollow One, the namesake card. 5 mana 4/4 doesn't sound that exciting. It does cycle, nice little upside. The big deal here is Hollow One costs 2 less for each card that we discarded or cycled during our turn. So, in theory, if we can discard one card, it's a 3 mana 4/4, like a Loxodon Smiter, which is pretty good. If we can discard 2 cards, it's a 1 mana 4/4, and if we can discard 3 cards, it's actually just free. So, this lets us do some really crazy things. And we also have some other cards that like the fact that we can discard cards in this deck. So beyond our Hollow One, which obviously just gets really cheap and becomes a really aggressive threat if we can discard cards, Honored Hydra likes to be discarded because it's much better when we're casting it from our graveyard. On the front side, it's a 6 mana 6/6 with trample. I mean, it's fine, but not really exciting for constructed. But the embalm cost is actually cheaper than its mana cost. It's only 4 mana to embalm, and then you're getting a 6/6 trample for 4 mana, and that's pretty above the curve. I mean, even though it's basically just a big dumb creature, 6/6 for 4 mana is pretty powerful. And then Hazoret, of course, takes advantage of the fact that discarding cards is likely to get us empty-handed or almost empty-handed, and then Hazoret becomes a real creature. Plus, we can use it like a discard outlet if we really need to deal a bit of damage. But mostly, it's kind of the top end of our curve since we are discarding cards to power up our Hollow One. To get our Honored Hydra in the graveyard, we just naturally turn on Hazoret, and if we're naturally going to be down to 1 or less cards by turn 4, Hazoret's a pretty good threat. Like 5/4 Haste Indestructible will close out games really quickly, not even considering the direct damage potential. So these are the cards that kind of like us discarding stuff. Then we have a bunch of enablers that let us discard. So probably the most important one of our discard outlets is Noose Constrictor, and this is a card that gives us our nut draw. So probably the craziest thing that Hollow One aggro can do is play a Noose Constrictor on turn 2. On turn 3, we untap, we discard 2 cards, maybe our Honored Hydra or other cards that we actually want to discard, and then we could play up to 3 copies of Hollow One for 1 mana each, so we could potentially have like 14 power, and that's not even counting the Noose Constrictor getting bigger because we're discarding cards to give it +1/+1. But Noose Constrictor is just such a good free outlet for our discards, which turns Hollow One into super cheap and really aggressive threats. So if we have a Hollow One or 2 to go along with our Noose Constrictor, we can get a ton of power on the battlefield really quickly. Blood Rage Brawler does let us discard a card, which again can be an upside in this deck, turning on Hazoret, making our Hollowed One cheaper, but it's also just really big. A 4/3 for 2 mana is pretty above the curve. Key to the City lets us not just discard cards, but lets us draw cards as well. Works really well with Hazoret, for example. We discard a card for free, make something unblockable to get in a bunch of damage. We get down under the card limit for Hazoret so we can attack, but then we recoup that card by drawing it on our next upkeep by paying 2 mana. So it works really well there. Also works well with some of our specific discard stuff. It's another way we can get a Honored Hydra in the graveyard, for example. And then Cathartic Reunion stocks our graveyard, lets us discard 2 cards, so on turn 3 we can Cathartic Reunion, discard a couple of cards, play a Hollow One for 1 mana, end up with a 4/4 and a whole new hand of cards for only 2 mana, which is a pretty good deal. Then we have some more discard flavor stuff. Fiery Temper, another great card to discard if we're going to discard something to Key to the City, discard something to Noose Constrictor. Fiery Temper just turns into a Lightning Bolt, so instead of losing value when we discard a card, we actually just get to improve our card by discarding it. And then Traverse takes advantage of the fact that we are filling our graveyard. We have some artifacts with Hollow One, we have instants and sorceries, so it's pretty pretty easy for us to turn on Delirium, and then we can search up our gods, our Hazarets, our Ronas's, our Otter Hydras, our Hollow Ones, whatever we need to close out the game for just 1 mana with Traverse. We also have Abrade as our primary removal spell. Getting rid of artifacts or getting rid of creatures in the early games, pretty good deal. And then to finish off our creatures, these ones don't especially care about our discard package. They're just really powerful green-red threats. Ronas the Indomitable can trample up our Hollow Ones and Hazarets and our other big threats. Very efficient. We have a lot of big things in the deck, so it's usually going to be a real creature. And then Glorybringer just comes down, closes things out, snipes down creatures. Really strong finisher for our deck. As far as the mana base, we get some good green-red duels and a bunch of basic lands. Pretty straightforward. In the sideboard, we kind of have another creature package. One of the things I like about this deck is we can potentially go down the discard plan if we're worried about our opponent bringing in graveyard hate or don't think that the discard plan is smart in this matchup. We can kind of go down those cards and just play like a weird green-red beatdown deck. Earthshaker Kenra, not bad to be discarded because it can be eternalized, but mostly just really aggressive, keeps our opponent from blocking. Prowling Shepherd, big for its mana cost, great in control matchups where our opponent isn't going to be able to counter our other threats. And then another Glorybringer if we need a little bit more on the high end. And then we get a bunch more removal as well. Sweltering Suns to sweep the board, Hour of Devastation to really sweep the board, and then another Abrade if we just need another targeted removal spell. And that is Hollow One Aggro for Standard. And that's our instant deck tech for today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.